Hey, Shalom Markins, Rakam Bakapashim, Jim Slolin, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chachadash. When I give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful, like pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, and I'm going to title this one, America will meet its end alone. Right? Everybody's going to desert America, right? With their allies, right? Anybody that was in league with them is going to desert them, right? Because the way America's behaving is just too vulgar, right? It's too brash, it's too prideful for these nations to tolerate, right? And we're seeing the rifts and the divisions that America is creating amongst its own allies, right? They're already hated for the most part in the rest of the world, right? But even their allies are really, having disdain for them, right? Because America is just being like uber aggressive, in issuing threats and sanctions upon their own allies, right? And they're meant to be, in this thing together, creating their new world order, all this kind of, BS and that. But America is the bully on the block, right? America is the crown jewel of these Edomites' kingdom, right? They hold the most power, the most wealth, the most influence, right? And they can, because they're so powerful, they can basically, have all these ultimatums, given to all these different nations, man, because no one can really do anything about it anyway. They're all going to try and play politics, be diplomatic about it, right? But if America wants something, there isn't really nothing stopping them from taking it, right? That's just how much more powerful they are compared to the rest of the these other Edomite nations. But it leaves a bad taste in the mouths of these other Edomites, man, who have their pride also, right? Because they're just getting kicked around basically, being bitch, being made bitch. All right, and so to save face, they got to appease, Donald Trump and whatever, right? And be all diplomatic about it, because like I said, they're not going to go out and stop America taking Greenland or doing whatever the fuck America wants to do. They ain't going to stop it, right? If America wants to veto something, guess what? It gets vetoed and ain't no one do nothing about it, right? That's why people struggled during the pandemic, or the nation struggled during the pandemic, because they weren't allowed to trade like Russian gas. So prices, the energy prices skyrocketed over here, right? And it come down a bit, but it ain't gone back down, if you know what I mean. So, and they're still trying to increase it, because we're not getting cheap, energy from Russia and whatever, right? Because America didn't want it to happen. Germany was getting screwed, right? And this is this is like the common thing now, is like all these European nations are getting screwed, right, because of America. They're suffering unnecessarily because of America. And now they just, they're turning around and just saying, oh, we're going to take this and, this and that. Like, it's not going down well, is it? And again, as we keep saying, man, this is all prophecy. America is supposed to be this disliked and hated nation upon the earth, right? And you can see that it's increasing, right? The hatred towards America is increasing, right? Not only amongst allies, but obviously in the rest of the world too. They're enemies, right? Everyone's looking at America like, this dickhead, and they really want to get at them, right? Iran saying, man, if you come for our leader, you're declaring war and whatever, right? Everyone's looking at America like what the hell are you doing? Like, you are the biggest threat on the planet to everybody, right? And the world, the world trying to, the West try to push like, oh, China and Russia are the biggest threats to the world. No, America is, right? Because you're just allowing America to do what they want to do. But the logic behind it is that, oh, America's for us, and so if they do it, it's not so bad. But evidently, everything that America's doing right now is not for the benefit of everybody else. It's only for the benefit of the elite in America, or the elite in general, because elites are not locked into any landmass, right? But they run America, right? America is their cash cow, you know. But yeah, they're obviously not benefiting anybody else in the world. Everyone's else getting screwed. So what difference would it make if China had it, or if Russia had it, or whatever? All these excuses become, pointless when you got an aggressive ally fucking everybody over, right? So what does it matter? You're gonna these you're gonna stand by America just because you're supposed to be friends. Well, your friends don't treat you like this, innit? Right? And this is why the scripture speaks about the whore, the beast, uh, um, basically turning against the whore, right? Which we're gonna get. But I'm gonna start here in Isaiah chapter 14. Right, and just to get this point right, the Lord have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, right? And this is obviously gonna happen, right? The Lord is gonna break the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, right? Because America is that one holding that scepter right now, right? But He's gonna destroy them, right? So He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, right? Esau, beginning with America, right, is continuously effing with people, right? Continuously effing with people, right? Weakening them, destroying them, stealing from them. He's always, doing some devilry, right? But now it's being put in-house against his own allies, right? So yeah, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth, right? No one's gonna stop the destruction of America. Ain't no one gonna feel sorry for you, right? These Edomites, here in Europe and wherever, they're gonna feel, they're gonna be astonished and shocked that has happened, but they're ultimately going to be kind of relieved, right, for a short while before they go into slavery, right? They're not going to have too much time to reflect on their actions, but before they get put into slavery. But yeah, man, your allies, America's allies, are going to turn on America at some point, right? Because they're being, mistreated, right? And when the Lord puts that spirit upon them to do this, right, they're going to be in that ruthless spirit, right? And they're gonna help end America. And when you go out, when America is destroyed, right, you're not gonna have no friends. Maybe bar Israel, right? But Israel gonna be on fire anyway, so they ain't gonna be no friends left because they will be gone too, right? But you're gonna die or go out with no friends, alone. You're gonna go out alone, right? You're gonna be truly known as the most despicable nation on the planet, and no one likes because you're that wicked. Right, and this is why you're just going to be a grand monument to the world, right, to the most wickedest place on the planet. All right, the Most High is going to have you as a memorial for all nations to look upon. Right, your smoke is going to send it for forever, man. That place is not going to be inhabited ever again. Right, just to show the whole world, man, how bad you was. Right, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, no, you know what? Yeah, these men were going off, like to the next level, going off. All right. So yeah, no one's gonna come to your rescue, man, because you're gonna be alone. All right. So the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Everything is just gonna rejoice when you get taken out. Except for these merchant men that lost their money. you know. This is Sirach chapter 14, verse 5. So he that is evil to himself, to whom who would he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. Right. I say he's not even treating his own right. Right. But you're seeing how he treats the rest of the world. He treats everybody far worse. Right. That's why he's always waging wars in their nations, undermining them and taking their resources and keeping them, in poverty. That's what these Edomites do. That's how they keep their hegemony. America talks about hegemony all the damn fucking time. This is how they do it, through wickedness. Right? So there is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is the recompense of his wickedness. If you do good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at last he will declare his wickedness. Right? And you're seeing his wickedness now in his last days. He's declaring his wickedness. Right? All this bullshit about saving the world police and righteousness and democracy and freedoms and all this. It's all bullshit. All of it. He doesn't care about the world. Right? He doesn't care about you, Jake. Right? Like America's your land. He don't care about you. Never has done. Right? But you, Jake, are so loyal to America and believe in the dream. Right? You're gonna die with this place, man. right? Because your misplaced belief or faith in it. All right. A covetous man is not satisfied with his portion, right? That's why he wants Greenland. That's why he's taking Venezuela. That's why he wants Canada. Like that's why he's going around the whole earth. Because let's be real about it. This guy is the ultimate immigrant, right? And the ultimate violent man, the ultimate thief, right? He likes to put the spotlights on these other nations for being corrupt and violent and all this bullshit. But he is the ultimate of all these things, right? He is the ultimate immigrant in every land because he's not at home. As the scriptures say, he keepeth not at home, right? The land that you belong to, that you come from, that you originate from, which you can call home, right, is the land of Edom in the Middle East, right? But you ain't going to find a large settlement of Edomites there. You might find some on a tour, right, on the tour, doing some excavation or some shit. But you ain't gonna find no mass settlement of Edomites in the land of Edom. Okay, your homeland. Wow, no, you're gonna find them in the most remote parts of the earth. Right? You're gonna find them in America. You're gonna find them in Europe. Right, where these men didn't belong. Right, but because you've stolen and conquered it, you claim it for yourself, like you do everything, right? You claim everything for yourself. Okay, you increase that which is not yours, right? It's like a covetous man, because you always want something, right? A covetous man's eyes is not satisfied with his portion, right? And that's why you always look to take somebody else's, and you don't care. Like if no one's able to stop you, you have no morals and ethics. You're just gonna take it. You're gonna make up excuses why you need to have it. Oh, Russia and China, if I don't take it, they'll take it, and then we'll be screwed. But you're currently screwing everybody to have it. So what's the difference? What's the fucking difference? You're not really an ally. You're just selfish. Russia probably cut Britain a better deal than you Americans would, man, and China and all that stuff. So a covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drive up his soul. Right? A wicked eye envieth his bread, and he is a niggard at his table. Stingy as fuck. You don't want nobody to have anything. And that's the whole agenda of the WF, man. You own nothing and be happy, supposedly. Right? You'll be happy. I don't know how you're going to be happy when you're in slavery, but, they don't want you to own anything. And so they're going to take it all. Right? They want it all. Right? But like I said, even these Edomites that are supposedly aligned with them, they're fed up, man. They're getting tired. They're getting tired of being bitched around. It's Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Right? These waters represents the nations. Right? The whore represents America, who is above all these nations. Okay, that oppresses all these nations, that sits upon them. Right? With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Right? Everyone's coming under the influence of America. Right? I'm gonna come to the point here in 16. Oh, I'll start 15. Right? And I'm gonna come back to this later on in the lesson. Right? But verse 15 says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Okay, just like what I just said. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Right? These are the whore's greatest allies. Okay, i.e. NATO and the EU. Right? They're America's greatest allies. Right? Who developed this current world order together. After the World War II, and the United Nations and all these different types of things that were established. Right? The Europeans and America worked together to build this. Right? So they're the closest allies. They're meant to be in this together. Right? But it says the 10 horns which soars upon the beast. Right? Because the whore rides upon the beast. It's like the pet. Right? Like a dog on a leash. Right? She's the rider. Right? And they follow that rider. So these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right? So this sentiment, or the sentiment of you know, of anger is real, right? These European nations are not happy, right? And Trump is just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, right, to the point of non-existence. The relationship to the breaking point, right? The fractures are becoming so deep, right? The resentment is getting great, right? And so eventually, when America needs them most, right, when World War III is live, right? When they need them the most, they're not going to be there. In fact, they're going to be worse than just not be there. They're going to be actually be working against them, right? To the point where, when the nail comes for the coffin, these men are going to be right there putting it in there. Okay, when they shoot their nuclear missiles at them, right? So that's how bad the relationship's gonna become, how toxic and how sour it's gonna be, right? And we've seen it right in front of the whole world's seeing it, right? How it's progressing to that stage. All right. It says, for verse 17, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled, right? Because again, ultimately, all of this is the Lord's will. The Lord is putting the spirit on these men to do what they do, right? To be upsetting each other, right? To bring about this time, okay, when it happens, right? And the woman which thou sawest is the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, right? America reigns supreme over the nations, right? And everybody knows it. Everyone can see it. And say Trump right now, he's puffing at his chest at everybody because he knows, like, America have always known, but we have a particularly bold leader right now in America, okay, which is just taking maximum advantage of that. Knowing that the beast just has to kind of lay down, right? Because the master, said so, basically, and they can't do nothing against the master right now. All right, so they're at the mercy of America because America will fuck everybody up, whether it be through economics or war. It doesn't really matter. They held all the cards. So all Europe can do right now is just talk and plead. Please don't, please Trump, please don't do that. That's what they can do. They're not going to go to war with America. That's suicide. They're not going to do that. Right, but and it's Obadiah verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy, right, your allies, right, have brought thee even to the border, that the men that were at peace with thee, right, have deceived thee. Right, so they're gonna just play this game because they have to. Their survival depends on it right now, right? But when things start to shift during the war, and the opportunity presents itself, and that spirit of the Lord is upon them to do this, then they're just gonna go against you. They're not gonna be there as an ally, right? They're gonna aid in your destruction. Whether they do deals with the Russians or whatever during the war, who knows how exactly it's gonna go down. But what we do know, right, is that when those missiles are launched, Britain and these other European allies, they're gonna be right there in shooting missiles at America, right? That's what's gonna happen. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, right? Because we have these trade relations, right? And we benefit. That's why Trump, if he threatens tariffs, 10%, 25%, that hurts. That hurts these economies here in the West because we're so closely linked in and juiced in with them, right? So we have been benefiting from America purchasing our stuff, right? And so if they slap tariffs and that's like, yeah, well, our economies are going to tank, go down, and the people suffer, right? Because obviously the elites in Britain ain't going to suffer. Come on, these MPs and shit, they ain't going to suffer. No, but the people will, right? And then that makes the people disgruntled against the government, and we see, what ends up happening. The same thing that's happening in Venezuela and all these other countries that America just goes around fucking up. Iran right now. These people are disgruntled against their governments, and they're protesting. And it's the same thing that they want to deploy here. Like if our leaders, quote unquote, here in Europe, they resist, then that's what basically Trump is trying to force to happen. That your own government's going to have all nations going to have protests and stuff to bring down the establishments and set up leaders that are more inclined to do what America tells them to do, right? To give in to, I mean, it's bullying. But that's how America has conducted business throughout the whole earth all the time, because they have the capacity to do that. So like Britain, like they could, on the flip side, throw tariffs back at America. But who think you can, what do you think, or who do you think can absorb these tariffs more, Britain or America? America's huge, man, and they got all these fucking, they print money. You know what I'm saying? They just print money like nobody's business, right? So they can absorb stuff greater than Europe can, than the rest of the West can. Because they're richer, they're more powerful, their pockets are deeper, right? Yeah, the American people are going to suffer more, as they're suffering already. Yeah, they're going to suffer more, but as a nation, they'll still afloat far easier than Europe. All right, so it's just bullying, bullying tactics, right? It says, shall not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Right? So I say the great judgment is coming upon the house of Esau, man. Okay, beginning with America. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Right? So it's not a smart move at the end of the day, what Trump's doing, because he's causing greater risks in his own kingdom. America thinks it's bad by itself, and although that might be partly true, right? It's not impregnable, bro. It's not, like, the world can take you, innit? You will get taken, right? You're not invincible, because that's what you think you are. You think nobody, literally nobody, no thing can take you out of power, right? But you don't understand something, man. The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, right? It ain't about the nation and how strong or weak they are, right? The Most High will make it happen. Yeah, he'll make it happen, man. Okay, all this weaponry and that, it ain't gonna mean nothing at the end of the day. It isn't gonna mean anything. The Most High wants you out of power, he gonna take you out of power, man. He'll depose you, man. Right? And that's the part you don't understand. So it's not smart what you're doing. Right? Everything that you're doing is leading to your own destruction. You ain't bad by yourself. Right? It says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Right? So you cause division in your own kingdom, guess what? This is what the outcome is going to be: desolation. You're not so great that you can, you're going to avoid desolation or your kingdom falling. No kingdom's ever done that, right? So in every city or house divided against itself shall not stand, right? And these are the tactics that Esau and these elites employ against the people, right? Causing instability in their own nations because they want to bring order through chaos, right? But they think they're smart. They think, oh, this is the way to do it, bro. Everything's just gonna mess up because you're not really in control. You're not really in control of the chaos. Okay, you think you can, or you think you are, right? But you're not, right? So all this that you've been doing is really stupid, right? You're really, you're just a fool, right? Verse 26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself, right? So you always say you're effing around with your partners, your allies, and stuff, and you cursing one another out, you're declaring war and threatening each other. How is this gonna work? How is this kingdom or this empire or this new world supposed to work? How's it gonna work? Right? If Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right? How is it gonna stand? But like I said, America, with Trump, Where is it? They're just too bold, man. It's Daniel 7 verse 20, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Right, this little horn that came up is speaking about America. Okay, that gained their independency from Britain, France, and Spain. Right, this is what this particular verse is speaking about. Right, but because of this and the position that they're in, that they have in the world right now, they've become super proud, super bold, right, and vulgar. This distasteful, right? Because they know it. She's bad and she knows it, bro. There's nothing worse than that when she acting, she's bad and she knows it, bro. You know what I mean? It's pride is disgusting to watch. Pride is disgusting to watch, man. It's it's annoying, right? And this is what you've become. Okay, you've become intolerable, all right, to everybody on the planet, because you're not a humble nation, man. You're not a humble nation at all. Um, this is Daniel chapter 2, verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron. Okay, this is where we are in terms of these kingdoms. We're at the feet of the statue that you read here in Daniel chapter 2, right? It says part of potter's clay and part of iron. The kingdom shall be divided, right? And this kingdom surely is divided. But there shall be in it the strength of the iron, right? Militarily, they got shit on lock, innit? Right? But there's so much discord, right, amongst the nations, amongst their nations even, right? That's really just a mess. Nothing is working how it's supposed to be. Everyone's suffering. Everyone's being made poorer. The elites are just, running away with the game, right? And no one's living good anymore, right? It says, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. Did I read that right? Let me read it again. So, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken, right? And this goes into the weaker nations of NATO and the EU and stuff like that, right? But it's something that's now, I'm not even going to say creeping into the rest of these nations, because these other these stronger nations are starting to suffer, right? They're having problems, at home, keeping up with their debts, keeping control of inflation and all these types of things, with the threat of war on the horizon. These nations are not equipped or not ready to have a full scale war with someone like Russia. Things like this. They're not in a great position, right? But like I said, they still have certain capabilities. They'll still take out most man. It's just if Russia came, it's like, is Europe really ready? No, they need America. They need America to confront Russia, and they know this. This is why they're screwed. But America's like an enemy now. So it's like, what do they do? That's why they're talking a lot about raising up their own militaries. But they acknowledge that they're kind of behind. They're not strong enough to fend off a Russian threat, really, or to fend off American threat. They're kind of like stuck in between now, between two enemies. And it's like, oh man, they're fucked. So they, a call is being made to increase military spending, but at a time where these European nations are kind of broke, it's kind of fucking difficult, right? That means you got to tax people more. They're already screwed already. So it's like people becoming more and more put in poverty and more disgruntled. So yeah, it's kind of a crap situation. It's a catch-22 position, man, because things are just gonna tank, or really ultimately, So yeah, the kingdom's screwed. All right. So whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they should not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. All right, so this king is going to be divided and fall. You know, and just coming back here, Revelation chapter 17, right? It says, just get the point. Yeah, verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, right? Because America came out of Britain, right? The seventh is speaking about Great Britain, right? And the eighth that came out of it was America, right? Even he is the eighth and is of the seventh and goeth into perdition. It's America that's going to be completely, utterly destroyed. Yeah, the rest of the Esau's kingdom is going to fall too. Yeah, no doubt. But America is going to be turned into a lake of fire. It's going to be completely destroyed. Right? And like I said, when that moment comes, you ain't going to have no allies, no friends in that day. Right? So the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings one hour with the beast. Right? And these have one mind that shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Right? The remnants of that warfare in World War III. Right? America's gonna be destroyed, right? But the remnants of the armies of the world, that is gonna exist, right, are gonna fight the Lord. Right? The beast is gonna command these armies to fight the Lord, man, when they come. Right? I think I just got one more scripture here before closing. I'm going to read Isaiah 47, and I'm going to read from, let's see. Damn. I'm just going to read from the top, innit? Right, yeah, it's 15 verses, all good, right? So Isaiah 47 verse 1 says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, right? He's speaking about America, right? Babylon the Great, right? The whore, right? O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the fire, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Right? When Yahushua comes, he's coming as an almighty power, right, with the angels, right? As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Right? You're not going to have the prestige anymore. Right? You're going to be taken out. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thy hand. Right? We serve slavery under you devils in America. Right? Hardcore slavery, right? Thou didst shew them no mercy, right? It's hardcore. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke, and thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever. Right? Because that's your ambition, your dream is to have this hegemony over all the nations forever. You don't want to relinquish any type of power. Right? That's why you continuously handicap other nations, okay, that have any potential of being anything more. Right? All these countries that you go into and take all their minerals, right? They're federal countries because of you. They have the ability to become more, but you won't allow them to be more because you're constantly extorting them, right? And destabilizing them, right? You don't want China to come. You don't want Russia to come out. You always have to do something to kind of hinder everybody. Oh, we're gonna slap sanctions on you. We're gonna slap tariffs on you, or we're gonna oust your leader, set up a coup, set up protests. You always do something, right, to keep you ahead of the game. So thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to heart. Neither didst remember the latter end of it, right? So all your wickedness, you didn't really think it would come to bite you in the ass, man. And you thought you was clear of it. You thought you got away, right? You didn't expect that all these actions that you've done, all this wickedness you've done, was going to come and get you in the end, right? Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. who can make war, right? You have this pompous attitude that no one's on your level, innit? Because no one is on your level, and we get it, but it's like there's someone above your level, right? Far above your level, which is the Heavenly Father, right? And He can do to you whatever He want to do to you. And this is why humility is an important aspect of men. But you don't have it. You don't have humility, right? It says, that says in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Right? Because America is just full of witchcraft and wickedness. Right? But thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, and hast said, none seeth me. Right? Because you've portrayed yourself to be some righteous beacon on the earth, and people don't see all the darkness that is in that land. Even though it's becoming more and more apparent, but the depths of it is still not known. It's still not like acknowledged. Like we know about it, right? How dark it is, how wicked the things that you're doing are, right? But the whole world can't acknowledge that about you because you've managed your image to the world, and people just wouldn't be able to believe some of the things that you be doing, and how wicked you truly are. Right? None seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. Right? But like I said, you're going to be caught unawares because you don't expect, like I said, you're not expecting these other nations to do anything to you. You don't think they're going to have the upper hand on you. You don't expect your allies to turn against you. You just think like everyone's so scared of you that they're just gonna fall and crumble at your feet. The Most High ain't gonna put that spirit upon these dudes, man. Right? These man, when it's time, the Lord's gonna put some raw spirit on these dudes, man, and you're gonna be the one in fear. You're the one that's gonna crumble, in the midst of them. Right? That's what you don't understand. The Most High controls everything. I shall not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Right? Because you pride yourself in your military capabilities, your defense systems, and your missiles, and all these different types of things. Well, they ain't gonna mean nothing. Right? It's not gonna mean anything. Most are gonna, not have done that stuff work. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast laboured from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Yeah, keep believing in all the stuff that you be doing, all the witchcraft and the things that you believe makes you strong. Yeah, keep doing it. Keep investing in your militaries and all these different things. Investing in the sword, which is your blessing, because that's what you've relied upon, right? Yeah, keep believing in those things, but it ain't gonna work, right? Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Right? Nothing is going to help you. Nothing is going to help you, man. Just like it didn't help the Egyptians. Oh, if we just take Greenland. Well, you take Greenland. You think that's going to increase your power to the point where you're going to defend yourself against the Heavenly Father? Hell no. Doing all this stuff is not going to win you the battle or win you the war. The Most High says you lose. You lose, sir. Good day. You lose. You're going to lose, man. You're going to be destroyed. So it doesn't matter what you do. Go and spend another 10 trillion on weapons. Do it. Like, it's not going to change the result, the outcome. Right? So verse 14, behold, they shall be as stubble. That's the result. You're going to be as stubble. America's going to be on fire. The fire shall burn them, and they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. Right? There's nothing you could do to deliver yourself from the judgment of the Heavenly Father. Right? There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast laboured, even thy merchants, from thy youth. they shall wander everyone to his quarter, none shall save thee. Right? No one's gonna do anything. No one's gonna be able to, gonna intervene, protect you, or do anything. Right? They're all gonna be, at the mercy of the Most High. Everyone's gonna be doing the will of the Heavenly Father, man. And that includes the allies turning on you to shoot their own missiles at you, man. You're gonna perish alone as the most hated, the most wicked, right? And that's what you're gonna be known for amongst all peoples, right? You're just the biggest douchebag that the planet's ever seen, right? And that's gonna be your memorial, man. that's what you're gonna be remembered for. All right, but I'm gonna end it there. Lord, this has been edifying. I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.